Hey everyone! The wait is finally over, and after a couple of months of waiting we finally actually have Firefly's initial kit from beta, and as expected, it's significantly different to what I originally expected, and there have been quite a few major changes to the one that I covered around a week ago, so in this video I'll try and break it down as well as I can and explain what she does in full, but without further ado, let's get straight into it. Firefly's updated talent became much more simple, with it now being purely a defensive talent instead of being an offensive one, reducing the damage she takes scaling on how much HP she has lost, with it capping out at around 50%. She now additionally gains some effect res too when her talent is at its full effect when she is at 20% HP or less. As I originally predicted, Firefly is really extreme when it comes to her HP manipulation, with her draining her HP a significant amount, and this talent helps keep her alive when she needs to be. Her skill is the main way she drains her HP, consuming 50% of it in order to gain 50% of max energy. This skill also does some decent fire damage with a fairly high multiplier to a single enemy. The reason why she gets such an absurd amount of energy is to constantly have access to her broken ultimate. When used, Firefly enters a special state which advances her action by 100%, increases her speed by a flat amount, and gains access to her enhanced basic attack and enhanced skill until the ultimate ends. She also increases her damage to weakness broken enemies and increases her weakness break efficiency by 50%. Just like in the last iteration of her kit, she still has the countdown mechanic which has a fixed speed of 90. It works pretty much the same as it did before, ticking down like Robin's ultimate does. Interestingly enough, these two perfectly align with each other, with them both being fixed at 90 speed, making their synergy already look pretty good. Firefly's enhanced abilities are where things really get insane, with these enhanced abilities having huge multipliers like her EBA, which restores some of Firefly's HP and deals a big amount of fire damage to a single enemy. Her basic attack in her ultimate mode has a similar multiplier to her regular skill, which may seem pretty insane until you realize how broken her enhanced skill is, restoring 35% of her HP, implanting fire weakness onto the enemy and dealing a huge amount of fire damage to a single enemy, with it also hitting adjacent enemies too. You may notice that part of the scaling is based on her break effect, which is the first time we've seen actual break effect scaling in the game, increasing its multiplier directly based on the amount of break effect Firefly has. This will be expanded on later during her traces, but Firefly is definitely a mix of being an attack and break effect scaler. She's like a Boodle, focused more on building regular DPS stats instead of going all into break effect only, but she still benefits a lot from building break effect as it directly increases the multipliers on her enhanced basic and skill. Firefly's traces are just as strong as her base kit, with her first trace making her enhanced skill reduce toughness regardless of enemy weakness, but to only 55% of the original effect. This lets Firefly always have enemies broken so she can benefit from the bonus damage she gets from her ultimate. Her second trace increases her break effect by quite a significant amount, which scales directly on how much attack she has. For those who can't do the math in their heads, you need 3400 attack to cap this trace out, but it is a lot easier than you might think, so just imagine this as 60 break effect for completely free. The final trace she has is probably up there with Acheron's for being one of the best in the entire game. This trace increases Firefly's defense ignore by up to 40% when she has over 360 break effect. This is obviously completely insane, as 40% defense ignore is an incredibly big damage increase, but at a pretty pricey cost. Or at least that's what you'd think, but there are quite a lot of ways to reach 360 break effect without having to pray to Clocky for perfect substat rolls. You have her new relic set and planar set, which give her a combined 56%. Her light cone gives 60%. She gets 97 more from her traces, and you can have either Ruan Mei or Harmony Trailblazer giving her more on top of that. Obviously, it's still pretty hard to get the 360 need, but it's definitely not the end of the world, and for a damage increase that big it sounds really worth it to me. Overall, Firefly's kit is pretty simple, having a ton of self-buffs which result in pretty huge damage numbers. These were some rough calcs I did comparing her to an E0's 1 Dan Heng, so you can see how strong she can be in her current state. She looks like a really complete character at E0's 1, and I'm guessing she will probably be up there with Bootle and Acheron for being one of the best DPS characters in the game. Moving on to her Eidolons, Firefly's E1 is extremely good and one of the best in the game. Similarly to Bootle's E1, Firefly's gives her some defense ignore and makes her enhanced skill not consume skill points. This opens up the possibility to run Bronya, who is one of Firefly's best support characters when you can manage the skill points effectively. Don't brush over the defense shred either, as combined with all her other forms of defense shred she gets in her kit, this makes it even more valuable for her damage. Her E2 is probably the third best in the entire game, giving her a full action advance whenever she gets a kill or breaks an enemy in her ultimate state. This can happen every other Firefly turn, which means she can nearly double her actions in her ultimate state, making this a really insane Eidolon. As with Bronya and Robin, Firefly can do over 10 enhanced skills per ultimate, which is obviously disgustingly good. Her E4 is a boring but really good one, essentially making Firefly immune to debuffs during her ultimate state, which is extremely good quality of life and is pretty good on its own. Finally, her E6 is broken as hell, increasing Firefly's resistance penetration and further boosting her weakness break efficiency, so she will basically be breaking bosses in a singular hit. Overall, Firefly looks pretty strong and interesting. I especially like the fact that they managed to make her break effect scaling without losing her identity as a crit scaling DPS. She would be one of the strongest characters in the entire game, and I can't really say anyone would be surprised at that considering she's another destruction character. Her light cone is pretty mid for all things considered, which is nice since you can go straight to E2 and pray it doesn't get nerfed to the ground. Before I end the video, I do want to point out that this is only week 1 of beta and Firefly should experience a ton of changes throughout. Expect follow-up videos and update videos every couple of days since Firefly is my second favorite character in the game, and I will do literally anything I can to make as many videos about her as I possibly can. Anyways, remember to join my Discord if you are interested in seeing how fast you can lose your sanity, and that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in a couple of hours.